This is going to be an animated book review of the 80-20 principle by Richard Koch. The 80-20 principle. This one goes back to a man called Victor Pareto. The Pareto principle. He was back in his garden mid-18th century England, and he was out there and he noticed something. He noticed that 20% of his pea pods were producing 80% of his peas. So he realized something, so he went out to the street and he noticed the same pattern. 20% of the streets get 80% of the traffic, and so he started extrapolating this outwards and its disimbalanced distribution between inputs and outputs. That are called the 80-20 principle. The modern economists have said this as well, that about 20% of your clothes get 80% of the worn. 20% of your friends give you 80% of your happiness. 20% of your efforts in a gym, your time spent in the gym, give you 80% of the results. There is that one floating around even as common as 80% of the population controls 20% of the wealth. 20% of the tools that you have been used for 80% of your tasks. 20% of the beer drinkers drink 80% of all beer in the world, and you need to focus on the larger concept that the majority of the effects that are produced with just a little bit of work. In other words, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you can get rid of that is not going to make that large of an impact. The 80-20 principle basically says that the majority of the effects from the minority of the causes, which is saying that 80% of the output is caused by 20% of the inputs. 80% of the profit that is made comes from 20% of the customers. 80% of the work that is done by 20% of the team. 80% of the customers only use 20% of the software features. The law is meant to show a universal imbalance within inputs and output, and whether you realize it or not, everything in life consists of inputs and outputs. All that you have to remember is that in any situation a small percentage of inputs will produce the majority of the outputs. If I create 200 YouTube videos, there's a really good chance that 80% of them will produce very little views, and the other 20% will help for roughly 80% or the majority of the total views. Now I still have to make the 200 videos and put in my best effort for every single video, but once I finished, I can use the Pareto principle to take note of the handful of videos that are producing 80% of my views and use it to make more of those types of videos and create less of the videos that didn't perform well. This law is absolutely amazing and regard it as one of the most powerful bits of wisdom I have ever learned. It's the underlying reason behind why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. If you take a second to look at the world around you, will see the Pareto principle in action everywhere. Anyways, I hope I have explained these concepts well enough that you can use them to improve your life. I hope you enjoy watching this video. If you want more like this, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Share this videos, give comments for this video, like this video. Link is given for the book The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch in the description. Must check it out.